Welcome to Office Hours by XXX Church. I'm your host, Carl Thomas. I'm a pastor, certified neurohealth coach, and a guy who frankly struggled with a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about for nearly 20 years until I found freedom about a decade ago. In today's episode, I am going to be jumping in and answering this question. Do you regard masturbation to be unhealthy and forbidden by God in all circumstances, even if porn use is not involved? That's what I will be discussing today, so make sure you hang in there with me. Recognize that no questions are off the table, and I'm going to be as honest with my answers as I possibly can be, so don't get offended. Without any further delay, let's jump in. Okay, so this question came into our office hours page a few weeks ago. The gentleman wrote, do you really regard masturbation to be unhealthy and forbidden by God in all circumstances, even if porn use is not involved? What about in a marriage where the one spouse is medically unable to have sex? I have studied this and I can see no completely conclusive conclusion either way for a man to get or not to get some physical release. All right, so we've had these questions in varying fashions or varieties over the many months that we've been doing these office hours. Usually they're not quite as specific. So I like the fact that this gentleman is very specific. He says, hey, listen, in a nutshell, I'm in a marriage. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not using porn, but my wife medically can't have sex. And I don't know if this is forbidden by God or not, because I could use some sort of physical release. So what about that? Is it just off limits all the time? Now, one thing I want to say before I answer this is A, my opinion, okay? And B, you're going to get a lot of other opinions. So there is no conclusive, I don't care what people tell you, there's always going to be a ton of debate when it comes to this masturbation question, all right? And yes, most of the time, porn is involved. In this case, you specifically are saying it's not, which is great, okay? It's great that you're not looking at porn. You're talking about, in essence, hey, I want some sexual gratification and my wife really can't do it because she's whatever, medically unable. All right. So I get that. First of all, I've never said that it's specifically forbidden in the Bible. Okay. So let's just get that one out of the way. In fact, in my book, When Shame Gets Real, I specifically say, hey, there is no verse in the Bible that says thou shalt not masturbate. All right. There is some obscure passage in the Old Testament about a guy spilling a seed in the dirt, but his sin was not the fact that he masturbated. It was much greater than that. It had to do with the fact that he was going against the will of God in that particular situation. So sometimes we just like to grab these 5 words from a passage and say, see, God says don't masturbate. Never says it. Sorry. This is why it's a problem when we talk about masturbation, specifically in the context of the act, right? Is the act of masturbating wrong? Or is it a sin for me to touch myself in a intimate area until I climax, right? That would be a very clinical way of saying it, but is that wrong? Right? And when we focus, and we love to do this, when we focus on the act, we miss the big picture. Okay? The problem with masturbation is not that you're touching your penis. Okay? I touch my penis in the shower because I got to clean it, right? Men touch their penis when they go to the bathroom at the urinal, hopefully, because if they're not, they're spraying all over the place, and that's not good, right? So it's not, hey, I'm touching my penis. It's also not the orgasm that makes it sinful, because obviously when you have sex with your wife, you're orgasming. If you have a medical condition and you go to your urologist, sometimes they need a sample, and they leave it up to you how to do it, but sometimes you got to do it right there in the office. I mean, I guess in some places, yeah. Is that a sin? It's a medically necessary thing, right? So it's not, hey, I'm touching my penis. It's not the orgasm. What makes masturbation a problem is the context, right? It's the heart, if you will. So why are you masturbating? in the case of porn, or even if there's no porn involved, you're seeing your neighbor and she's washing your car and she's really good looking and she's wearing a little top. And so you go knock one out right upstairs. The problem with it is not, again, the act. It's the fact that you're objectifying the person that you, or the subject to which you're masturbating to. It's the objectification. It's the reducing. You're taking a human being who God created and has all this potential and all this beauty, and you're boiling it down to one simple thing. They're masturbation fodder. And that's really not good, right? It's really bad, and yes, sinful, if you will, to reduce people. We do it in our society, unfortunately, all the time, not even in the sexual realm, just we objectify people all the time in different ways. None of it's good, but in the case of masturbation, usually what the problem is, we're objectifying someone. So in this case, you're in a marriage, and I caught heat on this, and if you don't like what I have to say, too bad. But I brought this up in a small group one time, and I said, hey, look, if you're a husband and a wife, and you're away, you're in the military, this is back when we were in Afghanistan for endless years, right? And you're in Afghanistan for 3 years, and you haven't seen your wife, but you love her immensely, she loves you, you both have desires. I personally, as long as you both talk it out, and it's a way to make you two feel closer together, I personally don't have a problem with, hey, let's have a little naughty FaceTime, if you will. It's a husband, it's a wife. You're trying to do the best you can with via technology, because you can't be with each other. It's still kind of bringing you closer together, because orgasms are very bonding. All right, that's what makes them so great. It's also what makes them so dangerous outside the context of a marriage. But they're very bonding. So I personally don't have an issue with that. Again, not in the Bible, one way or the other. So, you can disagree with me, that's fine. But there's no verse that says thou shalt not masturbate with your wife over FaceTime. Sorry. Again, FaceTime wasn't around back then. In your case, you're saying, hey, my wife can't have sex. My suggestion would be this. Talk to your wife and say, hey, listen, babe, I love you. I want to be intimate with you. I know we can't have, I'm assuming when you say sex, you can't have intercourse. But, can we come up with other solutions, right? And talk it out. Now, if she tells you, I don't know, but whatever, just here's a bottle of lotion, go to the bathroom. No, that's not the answer you want, okay? Because now, again, you're taking this thing and you're going away from your wife, and yes, you're getting gratification, but you're missing the whole purpose of an orgasm in the first place, which is to bond you more with your wife. We have needs. We don't, but when we say that, we have quote unquote needs. They're not really a need, right? Water's a need, food's a need, air's a need. Masturbating, not a need. Sorry. Right? But I understand we do have quote unquote needs, and there's nothing wrong with talking that out with your wife. Maybe she says, hey, honey, I got this idea. And you're, okay, sounds great. And if it's not involving porn, if it's not involving other women, if it's something that you both are on the same page about, and if it's in the end kind of bringing you together and making you feel a little closer, right? In your case, you're feeling closer because you're having a release, an orgasmic release, which is going to register with your brain. In her mind, maybe it brings her closer because now she feels less awkward about the fact that she can't have these things, right? So I don't know. That's for you and her to work out. But I would say that would be the best thing to do, is don't go with my yes or no. Have a talk with your wife about it and see where you guys land. Because ultimately, that's the important thing, is you guys have to be on the same page, as long as that same page isn't completely off the page, if you know what I mean. So hope that helps. If you have a question for me, go to xxchurch.com/office-hours and submit your question, and I will answer it in an upcoming episode. So that's it. Have a great week.